How's it going? You might see a different face than you normally do. That's because people are mean and want me to host. Welcome back to Ask the Nights Live. We have two great people. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, Sir Titus.
Hi, everybody. My name's Titus. How in depth do you want me to go?
Just who are you? Where are you from? When did you get knighted? Why are you a baby knight? Pretty much.
Okay, so I'm from the Shire of Vogelberg in Glen Aubin. I was knighted earlier this year, so I was the baby knight until Nick came along and I got moved one up on the ranking charts, just one. But so no, that's pretty much me. I started in 2003 in the SCA, so been at it for a little while, not as long as some.
Yeah, Nick.
Cool. Hey, everybody. My name is Nicholas Swift, or Colin. I am a member of the Kingdom of Glen Aubin, and I've been playing for SCA for about 8 years now, and been doing general LARPs and battle games and that sort of stuff for about 12 years now. I'm currently with the Shire of Ravenshold in the most northeastern part of our kingdom.
Oh yeah. So Annora's being a slacker and hasn't sent me a question, so I apologize. I am the least professional person with this group. Let's see. I guess I'll pick one out.
It's all right. We can just start removing clothes and oh, okay, we're ready.
We'll start basic.
Yeah, how'd I start in the SCA? So I got started doing general like battle gaming when I was playing World of Warcraft as a freshman in high school, and knew a couple of dudes who were in the area who are in my guild that wanted me to come out and do this thing that they called LARP. And I, heard about that, and I knew kind of what it was, and I was like, I don't know about all that, man. Like, I'm a World of Warcraft nerd, and I'm proud of that, but that, like, dressing up, going out there and running around with sticks, that's a little too nerdy for me. But with some coercing from my friends, I ended up actually going out, giving it a shot, and had a blast. It was super fun, and that's how I got introduced initially to Dagger here, which got me really going on the path. I actually met up with a few SCA guys after I had been in for about 3 years in that sport, and did not have a great experience with them initially. My very first couple of times with the local group there, I was going up, and it didn't really seem like they had much time for me, even though I was coming up to them in a full Anglo-Saxon kit. I'm talking the wool winningas with period boots and linen undergarment, wool overgarment, a hauberk. Like, it should have been a wet dream, but I just really didn't get the sense that they wanted to talk. So I was like, all right, screw those guys. I'm going to go off and do my own thing. So I ended up going to college and started up a Dagger here group up there. And we ended up being at the same park as the local SCA group. Went ahead and gave it a round 2, and this time it stuck. We did a lot of cross gaming, and it's history from there.
Hell yeah. Sir Titus?
So I was always a nerd. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I was into all kind of stuff, and I'd kind of heard about LARPs before. But, back then, it was kind of one of those things where you just read on forum boards. My brother actually got me into the society. So he had found it through, I think, the Armor Archive. He was into, like, making armor and stuff like that. And I remember he's like, hey, man, why don't we go down here to Trollfin, and we're going to go check out this regional fighter practice they had. And literally, I stayed up all night making my little first tunic. And it looked like a really cheap Viking kind of T-tunic thing. We showed up at practice. I think we stood there, took like 6 pictures, and bounced. And after that, since he wanted to really get me into it, he was like, man, I'll make you some armor and all this stuff. And he was telling me about personas. And I think like one of my first practices I went to, I had a whole musculata and this helmet that looked like something off of Troy that Achilles wore. And I just got hooked. Like, I was like, all right, this is really cool. I got really cool people around me. Went out there, and the rest is kind of history. I just rolled with it. It was my kind of people,
Oh yeah, I felt that one. So, what's another? There it is. What keeps you coming back, guys? Titus?
So honestly, fighting is a huge part of why I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of athletic, but the people, like, I have made friends and family in the SCA that I would have never been able to do just mundanely. Uh, the people itself is really what drives me. Like, I was very fortunate because I've heard some people when they start, like, they didn't get along with their shire or they weren't that active. But my core group here in my shire, you can't beat them. Like, that's what's one of the biggest things I love about it. And who doesn't want to go hang out with their friends on the weekend, have a drink, hit each other with sticks? I mean, it's like living the dream. So I would definitely say the people. I love history, and I'm a nerd, but the people in society is what I love the most.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you too, Titus.
I didn't say you.
Oh, shit.
Can you flash the question up again real quick? What keeps us coming back? Yeah, so Titus covered it pretty well in the sense of the fighting is super fun. Every time I go out on the field, I want to be an anime character, so I want to go out there and see how well I can do and go on my own, hero's journey or whatever. I like to be a total nerd about it and have a lot of fun. I like the historical aspect. The people, though, as he said, is the biggest thing that keeps me around. I was fortunate enough that when I moved over and really full-time went into SCA, a lot of the people that I met in the previous sport that I was in Gellir here, who had become my friends and my family, joined me in the SCA as well. They ended up moving over with me, and I'm fortunate enough to still have quite a few of those people still around. Not to mention all of the amazing new friends that you end up making. One of the biggest reasons that SCA, as opposed to I've cross-gamed a number of games at this point, and the reason that SCA in particular has my heart is there is so much to do in this game. There is, whether you can or can't fight or do or don't want to, whether you want to explore history or you just want to quickly dive into a class or something, there is so much available and you can do it from birth to death, man. This is what I call a career hobby. This is lifelong, which is just super fun. And you can do the entire thing and never explore everything that the SCA has to offer, especially if you don't get out and you're not able to, or you get a chance to go out and travel as well.
Yeah, the hobby of all hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
Hobbies within the hobby.
Hobbies.
Yeah,
man.
And see, like with Nick, I was sitting there. I've made friends in the SCA that you get out of your comfort bubble a little bit, and you'll meet people that you probably never would have walked up to and spoke to on the street, but because you have something in common with them, it's like an automatic, like, hey, 90% of the SCA you walk up to, I bet you they've watched like Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. They probably played D&D.
Too many times.
So it's like you already know you got it in common. So
yeah, it's a good time, and you can go anywhere and do it.
Yeah. So a question I love to ask is, what do you wish? What do you wish you would have known as a squire that you know as a knight?
Oh God, there's a lot of stuff that I wish I knew right now. One of the biggest things is I knew we're in kind of an interesting place with knights, I feel like right now, with the explosion of these shows such as this from COVID, such as What Makes a Knight. I know Coach's Corner has been around for a while, but it also exploded quite a bit, where you're getting a lot of opinions from all over the SCA world on how to be a knight and what makes an amazing knight. And you have these really great viewpoints from everywhere. And a result of that, though, is that sometimes you expect something to occur. And the way that I guess the best example of this, the best reason is like the angry unbelt phase. I knew that that was a thing only because it had been mentioned so many times in these shows. And for those who are unfamiliar, it's this kind of idea that ends up happening more often than not, unfortunately, where SCA knighthood is such a moving target, and sometimes it can get very frustrating when you're really going after it. That as a squire, we oftentimes lose sight of why we're playing this game in the first place. Why are we trying to become knights? And we get too wrapped up into the competitiveness of trying to get to that goal sometimes. And you have to be competitive to some extent. And what ends up happening is people, they reach this angry unbelt phase where they say, screw it, I'm just going to have a good time. I don't care what the knights think, and what ends up usually happening is they get knighted. But the interesting thing about this point that we're at now is that idea is so clear that what I had as an issue, was I tried to inorganically force myself to have my angry young belt phase. And I wish that I had known that that is not possible, that you just have to relax and enjoy yourself. And looking back, I know what event I actually did finally relax and have a good time. But I wish that I had really known that you cannot force this entire process. You have to have drive. You have to want to get out there and get better, of course, but you can't rush it. It'll happen when it happens. Try to have fun. And more often than not, if other people around you are having fun, if you're helping them have fun, you're going to have fun. You'll relax. And the thing that I found out now looking back is that when I did finally have fun and reach that phase, I was fighting just as good, if not better, than I ever fought when I was tryharding. Sorry, that's my phone.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't go too far off the trail.
No, it's all good. You kind of snuck into the next question, but we can get deeper on it in a second.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's all good, Nick. There's a reason y'all don't know the question, so we can hear everything.
So I'm going to say this. I was just talking to a friend about this last night, and I know I fell into this a little bit, but I think maybe not all squires, but a lot of squires, they have in their mind that when they get knighted, like, I've arrived, this is it. But it's really one of those points where when you get there, that's when you really have to start working. Like, it's almost like I won't say it's a pressure, but it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I have all these people entrusting me with it might sound corny or cliche, but like the future of the SCA. Like, I'm a peer now, and I need to help people the way they help me. You can't just get it and disappear into the background. People are going to look up to you. So those squire years, like, I know I did it too. It's like you try to rush through it. Like, I got to do this. I got to do this. Freaking enjoy that, man. Like, that's one of those things. I'm not saying that you're not going to enjoy, being a knight, but it's a different step on that journey of where you're going. I would say that, and don't rush into things. Like, so many people, they get anxious, and I was one of them. You get really anxious in what you're doing. I got to do this. I have to go in here. I have to win this thing. I have to get to this round and all that stuff. And all that stuff, it clouds your head.
Yeah.
Clear your mind. Go in there. Like Nick said, have fun. Just go in there. Because, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?
Facts.
Right?
I actually recently had to deal with that mentally, that block of, oh, shit, I got to get to at least – like, I can't be 2 down and out. Like, I can't do that. I can't. And then at Swamp Romp, I just said, fuck it. I'm just going to fight and enjoy myself because I'm 15 minutes away from the house. If I lose, I'm just going to go take a nap and come back for court. Like, it was no big deal for me at that event. And I ended up placing, like, I don't want to lie, but I think 7th out of 22, 23. So I was like, oh, yay. And then I was like, that was actually a lot more fun than, like, targeting the goal of 2 down and out, like.
That's one of those things you get in your head, man. Like, if you can sit there and do pale work every day, you can have the technique down. You get into a tournament and you overthink something.
Yeah,
it'll catch you.
Yeah, the mind's the worst enemy.
I hope that makes sense. What I was saying.
Oh no, it all did. Let's see, Nora. Next question, please. Thank you. So, what was your biggest hurdle as an unbelt? Like absolute top dog. Like, what do you think prevented you from the circle?
So, yeah, I've asked this question to other people, and I remember posting this on like a Squire page a while back. Like, what's holding you back? And everybody's like, man, nothing's holding you back. It's a journey. But I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of stuff depending on the person. And I'm going to say one of my biggest ones was always hurting myself. Like, I had issues with my knees. I was overweight. I have, like right now I'm out because of this bicep tear. But I would actually say that was probably one of my biggest things. Is I don't know if I was pushing too hard or what I was doing, but I was always like hurting myself. Yeah. So I know that's not something that you can go like, hey, don't hurt yourself because accidents happen. But my personal self, like even mundanely, it was always like work or injury or anything like that. But I guess under this question too, you can talk about that mental game too. Yeah. If you're not having fun and you're taking stuff too serious, that's a big hurdle to try to get over on your way to your path. So I may not be the answer you want, but don't hurt yourself.
It's an answer. That's all that matters. So Nick,
don't overdo it.
Do this, Craig.
Yeah.
What do you think your hurdle was? I know you kind of inched into it a second ago.
So it's actually a little different. I mean, that certainly didn't help.
Yeah.
But as far as my biggest hurdle, I think it had to do with getting out of my own way, fighting-wise, getting out of my own ego from the previous games that I had played where I was kind of big fish in several little ponds, where I did not know how to practice and train fundamentals and was unwilling to do so. I would go to practice. I went to all kinds of practices. I would go to events and fight. But practice for me at the time for 6 years was I'm going to go and try to win. I tried to win practice. I was that guy. And I didn't actually go and practice, and I didn't take time to learn, like I said, the fundamentals. And so as a result, my shots were all over the place. I was ending up with a lot of pain right here in this area that in the tendon here. And I was sloppy. I was fast, and I was young, and I was strong, hopefully still am. And so I could whip these shots around a lot of times coming from a previous game. And it was not mastery of the sport. It was making it work for a bit, basically. And it was pointed out to me the first event that we had back, we had kind of like a half practice kind of small event in Memphis. And Duke Uther came up to me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm fighting, man." He's like, "No, you're not." Like, "What do you mean?" He says, "You're all over the place." He went through all the things. And as he was listing each of the things that I was doing wrong, I was checking off in my head everything that I was unhappy with. I was unhappy that I was plateauing. I was unhappy with the pain. I was just unhappy with where I was. And as soon as he laid them all out, I'm like, "Please teach me. What do I need to do? I'll do anything." And he's like, "You need to start over." And I'm like, "All right." And so we did. We spent the next year pretty much, literally, we went to zero. And I learned the things that I should have learned at the beginning. I didn't know how to throw a flat snap properly. I had decent footwork, but I didn't know how to utilize my hips properly. And I had to, one at a time, 6 years into playing, I had to completely start over from new. And thankfully, going over and working with Uther, working with Duke James and Sir Luther, Mike the Mace up there as well, they got me back into shape in the backyard. And then when it was time for events to come back, it was about a year and a half later that I was announced for knighthood. It was just that thing. It was taking the time to have the discipline and the respect for the sport if you want to achieve that next level. It was really taking that time in order to actually do that and go through the process properly.
It was like you had the knowledge of how to do it. You just never put in the work to use the knowledge.
Kind of, yeah. Well, there were things that I didn't know. I didn't realize. You don't know, right? Like I didn't know that I was doing it wrong. I thought that I was doing it correctly. I didn't know that I was training Pell work wrong. I thought you just go out there and you beat the Pell and whatever, man. I didn't know that I should go out there and really practice the fundamental nice and slow and that it would help. And it was only by listening and doing it and trusting that process was going to happen and then seeing the fruits of the labor that it really ended up working out.
Hell yeah!
And it's still, I don't want to get I don't want to give the wrong impression. I'm still working on that every day. There are still several things that I'm trying to improve all the time. You don't, you get to a level where you're recognized for being knighted, but you never stop learning and improving and training.
Yeah. And see, can I say something real quick? Yeah. So like what Nick said there was solid. I went through something like that too, where I would sit there and I would learn something. And once you have something down like muscle memory, it is such a pain in the butt to go back and unlearn that crap and start over. The whole thing with fundamentals and stuff. That's one reason why I started doing some of those little beginners instructional videos, was because that was stuff that I messed up on in the beginning. And it's just, it's bottom basement stuff that you should learn. But if you learn it wrong or you start off wrong, that crap is hard to reset.
That was like me with a flat snap. And the only thing I felt to like get off and not just throwing it like this with my hand cocked was I had to shade my handle down. I had to go from a round handle to a shade one. That way I could feel how my hand needed to lay so I could feel the edge hit.
I'm one of those freaks that like to leave it round. That way it rolls in my hand.
That's what triggers are for. Flies around. Well, there it is. Yep. Thank you, Annora. What is your personal philosophy / path on training before you were knighted?
I mean, you kind of hit it already. Yeah. Do what you need to do to keep you invested, to keep you interested. I think it's just, like I said, I already kind of explained my reasoning. So instead, I'll just kind of give a piece of advice: is find something that makes the training. You have to enjoy the training aspect if you want to be knighted. And again, it's not something that you can force, but it's whether it occurs naturally or you find a way to make it fun for you. It's like working out. Like, you got to find the best way that works for you to enjoy the process. And you have to enjoy, whether it's, you don't have to enjoy doing PEL work, but you maybe enjoy the fact that you're got one more tick on the 100 day PEL challenge or something. Or maybe you're like me and you blast anime music like crazy while you're doing it and just pretend you're, whatever character in whatever show and just get it knocked out. Or maybe you really enjoy the art of fighting and the body mechanics. Find something that works for you to make it fun, but you're going to have to make that training fun to get through kind of that nitty gritty to build a good base that you can fight from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Titus?
So the one thing that I had that was beat into me by my night was have fun. So that's the core. Like, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. So as far as all that goes, I started noticing, like the PEL work and travel. That was like two things that once you start doing those two things and you kind of incorporate that into what you're doing, you'll start seeing bumps in how you're fighting is. So have fun, travel, fight other people, and practice. It's some people are like you with their philosophies. They're like, I don't fight before this. I don't fight before that. And you have gifted people that may not need to. That was not my butt. I had to get out there and actually do stuff and fight. So put in the time, do the work, have fun doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really a philosophy.
Helped me with a lot of things.
Well, I mean, you look at travel. So even if you have a large group at your own fighter practice and you fight them all the time, they learn your tricks, their tricks, and it kind of gets stale. If you go out and fight other people, you're going to learn stuff. Even if you fight someone brand new, I've learned this. If it's like they've only been in armor for a couple months, don't count them out because they will throw weird shit.
Oh yeah,
and you'll have to react to it. So, and then you'd be like, "What the crap was that? Why was you spinning around, swinging your sword around your head 3 times? I mean, what does that do? I wasn't expecting it." So you can learn from anybody. Travel around and fight people. Something else, like I've watched people that will travel 4 hours to a regional fighter practice and then fight the people they fight at their practice every Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if everybody else is tired and doesn't want to fight, cool, fight them. But put on that checklist. Like, I want to fight him. I want to fight him. I don't get to fight Nick often. I'm gonna make sure I fight Nick. That Titus is a scrub, so I'm gonna go beat him up. Fight other people.
I mean, that was just like you. Sorry, Nick.
No, I'm just saying. I just on that travel. I mean, really, it's one of those things. You can't always do it, but when you can, go out of your way to try and make it happen. And especially if you're somebody that's looking to get squired, that is something that'll get you noticed. Is if you're making it happen when you can. Sometimes you're in college or something, or you're maybe between jobs, and it can't happen sometimes, and that's fine. But when you can, try to. There's usually someone near you that's willing to lend a seat in a car or something, or maybe save up some money to try to go to a particularly good event or practice where you're going to get a lot out of it. But it not only does your fighting tend to become kind of stale staying in one area, but your outlook on the game can get kind of stale as well. You have to travel and go out and enjoy that process. Otherwise, it just becomes the same old thing every single weekend with the same old people.
Yeah. My travel experience, I'll put it in quotes, because I never really got to travel, but Titus knows I used to fight with them, and then I went and fought with Trofin for a while, and now I'm back with them. It was kind of that was geographically myself moving to different areas, but I'm literally dead in the middle between Trofin and Vogelberg now. It's an hour each way. So it's like, if I notice I'm plateauing here, I'll go and fight at the other group for a while, because I hadn't fought them in 6 months or so, and then I'll try to fight more there. It tends to, like, this past time I went back to Vogelberg, my fighting level stayed at like this level, and then it's barely bumped up, but it has bumped up some to where I've noticed, just personally. So,
and see, Nick, you were talking about,
but if you just switch, you're good, in my opinion. Experience, I'll put.
Nick, you're talking about like jamming anime tunes and stuff to get in your headspace. I'm gonna tell on Effin or Effin.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he used to sit over there and listen to the SpongeBob theme song, like rocking out before he would get in armor.
Yeah, I used to.
That's a true story.
I used a bad thing about getting angry before I fought, and it would turn out real bad, very dangerous. But what solved that in the beginning when I was 16 was listening to Effin, the SpongeBob song. F is for friends who do stuff together, and I would jam out to that before I fought, just so I wouldn't get in my head and get angry that I just got hit, or get angry at myself for not being able to hit them. So,
see, Effin, aren't you glad you invited me?
That was my one thing I didn't want you to say.
Yeah. Over there making Krabby Patties.
Let's just not bring up the Kool-Aid pouches.
Oh, wow.
If you remember the best advice you've got, Titus, at your visual, would you mind?
At my visual, I had no less than 4 people tell me this one piece of advice. And it came down from His Grace, Sir Kane Redfeather, which is, now that you got a white belt on, make sure you pull it to the side, because if you pee on it, then it'll be yellow.
Yeah.
No. So I would say some of the best advice I had was, now that you're up here, your words carry weight. You have to be careful what you say, because something that just would be off the cuff comment on the side, now people are going to take serious. Yeah. And so you have to watch what you say. That doesn't mean don't speak your mind or whatever, but people are going to take you serious. And if you say something like, hey, blah, 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 they're going to run back and start telling everybody, hey, look, I had a knight tell me that, I shouldn't shampoo my hair the night before because people do weird stuff. So I definitely think that was one that really sunk in. Like, your words carry weight now. Be careful what you say. Don't be an idiot, Titus. Cool. I'll try my best.
I'll try not to be that effing guy eventually. Nick?
Yeah, man. Mine's easy. I was just elevated on the 4th, so I got all those nuggets still floating around. Honestly, though, the best one was the single last visitor that I had in my tent, and also the shortest piece of advice. But man, it's the truest. It was, if everybody is having fun, you're probably having fun too. So try to have fun, try to make it. And it's when I look back, when I was talking about that idea of that true angry unbelt phase that I had, where you finally, I organically actually gave into the process. The big difference is that I went out and was trying to engage the populace and just trying to have fun with everybody at the event. I remember specifically the event, I think that it really happened was we had to go out and as King's Champion, we had to go and do a boast tournament where we had to go out, we make boasts and whatever. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to make people laugh. And so I went out and I did boasts where I would crawl on the ground and roll around and scream at the crowd. And like, I was fighting with one arm and on my legs and, I don't know, left-handed and whatever, and just tried to have fun. And that was the first time in a long time that I just had a blast. And then the next event was Orc Wars. So I went out in a goblin kit with this giant, goblin mask on with these giant ears and this stupid, like 26-inch helmet, this giant oversized salad that would fit over the top of this mask, just fighting and not caring if I died or anything, just having fun, chasing kids around, letting them chase me. It was a good time. And those are already some of the most, some of the fondest memories I think I'll have in this sport, honestly.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
There's pictures.
The more you know. Well, Annora's got a question for us from the audience as we've hit that 30-minute mark. And that comes from, I forget your SCA name. But what makes a good night? How does a fighter know when sorry, I can't read, when other fighters are night worthy?
I would love to know, man. No. Really, I would love to know, I guess. I haven't had the opportunity yet. Again, I was just elevated on February 4th of this year. I haven't really had the opportunity to see that transition, to see that process, to see that recognition yet. As far as what makes a good night, it's what I've been saying about somebody that serves the populace, somebody that is humble, that is willing to do what it takes to keep the dream alive, whether that be putting on a goblin mask and rolling around in mud while kids throw stuff at you, or winning crown list or something. It's and being a good king or whatever. But I look forward to seeing what it is, seeing that transition for the first time in someone else, I think. And there's a few people that I hope to see soon.
Oh yeah. Sir Titus?
So, like, it's one of those things. I haven't been night long, but I mean, I know everybody has in their head what they see as nightly. And I think, of course, the first thing that springs to your mind is good fighter, right? Like, is all this stuff. But you quickly learn that being a hot stick is not all that it's cracked up to be. There's so many more layers of being like nightly qualities. If you're really good at hitting people with a stick, that's fine, but that's not gonna, I don't think that alone is gonna make you a knight, because you have so many other things that goes with it. Is this person, like Nick said, is he serving the people? Does he help his own group out? Does he help other people? You kind of got to be a little bit of everything. You might be a little better at one thing than you are others, but it's service. What do you do for your group? What have you done for the kingdom? Can you fight? It's that whole thing about don't be a dick either.
Oh yeah.
I've seen some people being humble. I know it's one of my things. Like, sometimes I wake up and I still ask myself, like, am I really worthy of the accolade that I got? Because it's in the back of my head. Like, did I? Obviously, I mean, you don't take it away from the people that voted you in, because obviously they see it. But you have to look in at yourself and say, what have I done? Was it enough? And how can I keep that level of what people think? So it's kind of a trick question. I wouldn't say just fighting. There's so many other things that you have to put in there. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain how.
If I can, Titus, man, the it might be an old adage at this point, but I first heard it from Sir Caedmon here at a Great Ish, which was that fighting is like a glass of wine, in that the fighting is the cup that holds all of the wine, which is everything else that you do as a knight. It's everything else that you do as a peer. That fighting, you have to have both in order to have the complete, glass of wine, but you can't have one without the other, and you still have to be a good fighter, but you have to have those peer-like qualities as well.
Yeah.
And it's a long list, there's I don't know. Be yourself. I had somebody tell me one time, if you want to be something, act that way. Don't just sit there and whatever. If you want to be a melee fighter, then go be a melee fighter. Don't. If you want to be a knight, carry yourself in those kind of ways. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't know. That question kind of threw me off, right? But it's a lot.
Let's see. I think Annora has another one ready for us. If she's ready. Sorry, I'm very new at this, and there's a lot going on. Oh, there it is.
It's all good, man.
All right. What needs to happen to bring youngins into the SCA? So I think right now in our kingdom, they're having a big kind of explosion of youth fighting, which is great because youth are the future of the SCA. I think a lot like I don't know, this is kind of off thing, but I know one of the things I traveled to Ardenroe, and they had 2 youth fighters, and I got to be their first night that they met. So I brought little tokens. I said, man, you come out there and fight me on the field. I get up and I tried my best to kind of give them a little bit of that magic that, I got when I first started, where somebody's like, hey, look, you did good. You did this. Here's a little thing, a little token from my pouch to give to you to kind of make them feel like, hey, look, I did something they can go back and tell their parents, like, look, someone did this and I did real good. A lot of encouragement, and it doesn't have to be just fighting. Show them arts and sciences. Find out what they like to do and really try to encourage them for that, any kind of form or fashion, locally in the kingdom. And I can actually say Glenavon has been really, really good about it. Like I see at events, people go out of their way to introduce themselves, make them feel welcome.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak from experience with that, seeing as I was the youngin in your group, Titus. Back in the Gap, but which wasn't that long ago. But y'all were really, and a bunch of other people tend to take in the new kids and be like, hey, don't be a dick, just have fun, and really show you how it's done for the most part. But Annora, can you pop that question back there?
Man, hard to follow that. You really knocked it out of the park. Being inclusive, as you said, is a huge part. But once you've included them into the SCA, I think something, at least in our kingdom currently, that we're working on, certainly, especially with a lot of the period gaming, is having things for them to do.
Yeah.
But Glenavon is, at least in a lot of the events that I've been going to lately, we're in a little bit of a rut right now where we're kind of doing the same thing we've done, at least since I've started. And there isn't quite as much for a lot of younger audiences. Now, what is the answer to that? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's more not just like board games, but like games like we have, bottle jousting and stuff like that. I think it's trying to get away to, like you said, bringing the magic there's a lot of different ways to do that. It can be involving them in tournament, depending on what age of kids you're talking about. But in generally with youngins, doing something like, in having them pick fighters to fight for them or something, or having an event that is focused on not fighting, but still something to do that everyone pays attention to, like an archery event where archery is the thing that people are focused on, because anyone of all ages can get involved, win awards, compete. They can really feel like they're part of the event. Oftentimes, a lot of the events that we have now, kids activities and kid related, or even just younger people related who aren't fighting, if it's not classes, it's kind of something off to the side. It's not as involved in the main eye of the event, if that makes sense, as it probably should be. And so I think we're working on it, and it's something that we are gonna grow in the future. But I definitely trying to be inclusive, and then having something for them to be included in afterwards, and making it a big part of the event is going to be, I think, the way to go moving forward.
I'll speak as a once youngin'. Not that I'm not, but I'm officially able to drink in the SCA, so it's a little different. But I'm 21.
Barely.
Oh,
barely. Yeah, like last August was 21.
Younger than me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I started fighting at 16. But if it wasn't for the fact I fought, there wouldn't have been jack shit for me to do as a teenager. So it's definitely a retention thing for teenagers. Also, would be awesome. Like, because they kind of throw them in with the kids, and as a teenager, we all know our minds are a little bit different. We're like, oh, this is bullshit. We don't want to read a book. Like, we want to do something different, like interactive. So I don't know if Jen Klein's on here or not, but she's the MFC. If you're hearing me, that would be awesome to include the teenagers, something different than the kids.
It's something else, like we were talking about, just getting them included. Sometimes even as fighters, get them to come sit under your tent. Get them activated into what you're doing. Like, hey man, come over here. I think if you're in my corner, I can win this. Just something to get them excited about it. Or
when you're in the field, yell at them. Get them involved. Ask them questions. Taunt them. Get them involved in the. This is, how is it described? This is like ad lib, or not ad lib. It's constant performance. The whole society is. It's all a big play, basically. Get them involved. Oftentimes I think kids get shunted off as being kind of the audience a lot of the times, and by reaching out to them, whether it be on the field or off the field or whatever, and not just asking them to participate as your supporter, but making them a part of it. Like, just as an example, like when I was a goblin, I would go up and taunt them before every fight, and make them have a reason to be invested in whatever is happening on the field or off the field or whatever.
And kids want to be part of it. Like, I know when I was talking about when I went up to Ardenroe, one of our, I know people in our kingdom know Tootie, his son, he sat there, he was already like Queen's champion and all this other stuff. So he came to me, he's like, I want one of those tokens too. And I said, listen, bud, you've been fighting a while. You're going to have to actually beat me to get a token. And he looked at me, he said, look, I've beaten James the Holy. You should be known. I said, you little turd. But it's that kind of stuff that gets them excited about stuff and gets them into it, I think.
Oh, yeah. I believe Annora had one or two more questions. Yep. There we go. That's from His Majesty at the moment. What is your personal favorite knightly virtue, Nick?
Hi, Alex. Man, humility. In my opinion, I think it is my favorite and one of the most important. I think humility reaches everywhere else within all of the other knightly virtues, and affects them, and to which of their qualities are properly being utilized. Because I think everybody to some extent is interacting with the knightly virtues, but it's about how those knightly virtues are presented. So, like, for example, pride is a necessary part. It's not one of the knightly virtues, I don't believe. It's one of the extended ones in some of the lores, but it's pride has to be a thing. It just is. It's part of this whole thing. But the difference is how you present pride. You have to have pride, internal pride. This is something that I'm stealing directly from What Makes a Knight video, but it's so amazing. You have to have internal pride to want to get better. You have to have pride in, I got my butt beat, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go kick some, I'm going to train and I'm going to come back and kick some ass. You have to have that internal pride. But external pride, which is the lack of humility, in my opinion, is going out there and saying, when somebody new beats you, like, oh, well, my knee's not feeling too good today. That's bad pride. And that's not having humility and just accepting that you were beaten and cheering for them and letting them enjoy that little victory, or going out there and when you get beat, throwing your helmet on the ground or something in anger and frustration. Like, no. Pride is definitely definitely rules for a night, man. It's one of the more extended ones. It's something, yeah. But all these, there's humility in my opinion. Humility tempers everything else.
Yeah.
And that's why it's my favorite.
Titus?
So I'm going to go with, I'm going to say generosity or charity, however you want to say it. And I don't mean that as like physically giving somebody something they don't have, but to be a knight, like I can remember people that are like, man, my stick's busted, I don't have a stick or whatever. And you're like, no problem, man, I got one here, I'll give you one. And it helps other fighters along the path. And it's not like charity, like you don't have it, so I'm just going to give it to you. But I look at it as a way of, I guess, promoting, maybe is the right word. You try to help them out, because really, if it wasn't for these people that look up to you in this kind of form or fashion, then it doesn't matter if you have a white belt on or not. It, to me, is giving back to those people that have given you something too. Like, and I don't know if I'm using the virtue correctly, but that's kind of how I see it. Just those little acts of kindness will really kind of come back to you. So I think that's a really good virtue to have, if that makes sense.
I mean, I have an experience like that with Sir Dex. I mean, the helmet I have right now was one of his old ones, and at the time I was using Motans. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I got one you can have, just don't ever sell it. Give it to somebody else. Pay it all forward.
Pass it along. Yeah. You like Sir Motan, you were talking about fighting in his armor. That's a guy that has drug extra armor, and like almost every fighter in his shire has worn his equipment at some time.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's almost disgusting to think how many people have worn his armor.
Yeah, I won't even tell you about the time he loaned me a cup. That was messed up.
Oh, damn.
Well, he sat there and I'm like, man, I got to go to the store. He's like, no, I got an extra one. And he brings it to me. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'll buy you a new one at the end of the practice, because I never said it was new. I was like, what?
What?
Oh, man, I got Mongol funk all over me.
Yeah. Let's see. There's Annora's sitting there laughing in the back. I can't say that word properly, but chivalric, there we go. Qualities do you think we all as a society need to focus on, not for elevation, but just to make the SCA better and more fun for everybody?
Ooh, man, that's a big question. All right, put it back up. I need to read
that. There's a reason I said it.
So, they got the rule one, don't be a dick. But I would say is just understanding, maybe, for other people. I know that's kind of a very open-ended thing, but everybody has different things going on. Everybody has different problems. You need to understand it and not hold it against them. I think that as a whole would go a long way. Like, I'm not saying that we don't already do that, but you never know what somebody's going through or what kind of problems they have. Just because they have one bad day or whatever, don't hold it against them. Yeah, give them a second chance. And I've seen it happen a lot. Somebody will take something out of context or whatever, and they'll get really upset, and then they want to totally blacklist somebody for the rest of their SCA or whatever. Just have a little understanding for your fellow people. I guess that works.
Yeah, 100%. I actually like it.
Man,
what you got? Annora, can you?
Hey, that's a tough one.
Hard question.
Try going first.
Yeah, the benefit is you got a really good answer out at the beginning.
That comes from the cashmere himself.
Yeah. We'll be seeing you on the field in a week here. Valorant qualities do you think we all need to decide we need to focus on, not for elevation, but just to be able to see a better place for everyone? I mean, I guess, continuing the cycle of generosity, I suppose, is pretty important, pretty noteworthy. There are, whether that be, it all kind of goes back to Titus's answer, I hate to say, but it's the idea of being generous with your time and your, again, being generous in your understanding of what's going on with other people. Man, sorry. Dennis, come and talk to me on Kaz, come and talk to me at when I have a week to think about the answer. It's beyond, really, Titus knocked it out of the park. I don't have anything to add to it. And it's, yeah.
Which is perfectly fine. It's all good. I don't mind that.
I pulled that answer just out of thin air. I was like, you know what? We need to understand each other. That would be great.
Great job. It's true, though. It's like you said, SCA, unfortunately, can get a little catty sometimes. And it sounds like it's been that way for a while. And so giving people the benefit of the doubt whenever possible is really important.
So Annora has a personal question she wants to ask, but I don't know where she went. Hold on.
That's a good one, too.
Annora, you there? Oh, there she goes, maybe. Oh, shit. Technical difficulties.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
As a knight, how do you continue your SCA career now? Goals and the goals that you have now that you're knighted.
Yeah, for sure. Realizing that this is just the beginning. That now the game was always there, but man, it's really time to start playing now. This is when it seems like a lot of the work begins. Of now you've got to do all the things. Yeah. Now you've got to do all the things that you did to get knighted. You have to continue that because that's just a way of life. But you also have to be an exemplar of those virtues and those qualities to everyone else, anyone else that's interested. It's whether that's continuing your fighting. Fighting is always going to evolve. There's always going to be new styles coming out there, and there's always going to be a reason to keep improving, whether it be I think that kind of sums it up.
Yeah.
Just knowing that now it really feels like is the time to get to that you really are actually fully just ingrained into the society, and it's time to make sure that you're available for that.
Yeah, you just got your stamp pretty much of approval. Now you got to keep it going.
So I look at it like this: your earlier years in the SCA, before you take a squire belt, even when you take a squire belt, you're pushing yourself to be a better fighter. And I think even after you become a knight, you're still pushing yourself to be a better fighter. But once you do that, you take on a bigger role as a teacher. Like now, people that may not have listened to you because you had a red belt, they're going to listen to you because you have a white belt, because obviously you figured something out.
Yeah.
So as far as continuing that down, you're still going to push to be a better fighter. I don't think that ever ends. But you're going to have to teach more, and you're going to have to pass on the things that you have learned and are learning to people. And that could be somebody that's been in the SCA, 10, 15 years, or somebody that just starts out that needs to kind of get a direction on where they're going. And it's like one of those things, you are stewards, so you're passing on all that stuff that you've already got. So that whole now your work begins thing is real, because people are going to come to you, and they might ask you some really out there questions. If I do this and I fall over and I stab my own sword and all that, I'm like, did I kill myself? Yeah. And you're going to have to come with an answer, or you're going to have to point someone else. It's like what Cam said, you are setting an example for other people. So you're going to have to carry yourself that way. You're going to pass on that knowledge. and keep pushing.
Hell yeah. So now we have to ask Annora's absolute must-have favorite question. How prepared has the SCA made you for the zombie apocalypse? Oh, that was a weird screen. My bad, guys.
Preparation for that. Well, I definitely have more armor to stave off those zombie bites. I'm probably in a little better shape too. I might can get about 10 steps away from one of those running zombies before I get bit. All right. So that's kind of like one of those things where you're going to pick up skills. I may not be able to survive the zombie apocalypse forever, but damn it, I know how to make some mead and be drunk. So then you don't have to worry about the apocalypse so much.
Nick, what you learn?
You see, so you guys ask this question every time, but the problem is you never specify what kind of zombie apocalypse we're having here, because there's a lot of them out there that we're just done. I don't care how much of SCA training you have. I don't care how many pounds, how badass of a Duke you are. If we're like doing World War Z, we're done, dude. We're out.
It's over.
Let's assume it's like Walking Dead, right? Still probably not much. Let's be honest. Yeah, you have a little bit. You might have some conditioning, I guess, when it comes to fighting, but I don't know how much that's going to help you. A lot of it is going to be the extra skills that you learn in those classes on how to stitch leather together, how to, bang out pieces of armor and rivet them, or whether it's learning how to forage or cook or do like herbal medicine or whatever. Like, yeah, exactly. It's going to be a lot of those soft skills. That would maybe I'd feel better about that. Me though, personally, I think I'm screwed.
I'll be right there with you.
And if you get bit, don't leave your helmet on. That way, they don't have a hard time knocking you in the head.
Every piece of armor on. I'm done at that point. I want to make it. Now we make it fun for everyone.
I'm going to be a boss zombie fight.
I'd like to think so, but I'm probably screwed.
Trip over my own feet.
Yeah. He's not calling hold. He's not saying good.
Stupid rhino's not calling his shots.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think this is about wrapping it up right now, guys. So the biggest thing is we don't have a show or plan for not next Tuesday, but the next. So if y'all could message us on Facebook and send whoever to us, we'll take just about anybody. Obviously with Sir Titus, we took him. So
yeah,
yeah. This is the bar now in Glenavon, so as Sir Nicholas says.
So I wanted to tell y'all a funny story about me and Nick. It was do you remember when we bumped into each other crown list in the bathroom? Yeah. So there we are, and I see Nick in there. He's like, "Oh," and I started doing my strut. I'm like, "Hey, heard you're the hot stick of the north," and we were both squires. And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you're the hot stick of the south." And I missed the opportunity to say, "Well, there can only be one."
Yeah. He says that like he's strutting in. Really, it was like, "Hey, are you like, yeah? Are you Titus? Yeah. I hear you're kind of good. Like, I hear you're getting there. Like, oh yeah, you too." That was actually one of the reasons I was so excited about, about this one in particular is that just for anyone that goes back and watches this, I think it's kind of cool that our kingdom is not very big, but it's split very much north and south, unfortunately, just because there's a big middle area where there's nothing in southern Arkansas. And so I think it was kind of cool that the two most recent nights are southern and northern. We got a chance to be able to kind of give our perspective from two separate areas, but even so, I think we largely had a lot of the same opinions on and answers to several of these questions, and it's cool to see that cohesion.
Yeah, separated that far and still same.
Seem to agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's good.
I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you guys for coming on. If the audience, again, can send us messages on Facebook on who to have. That way we can write it down and then try to find them on Facebook. Please send us SCA names and Facebook names because I am not that good at investigating who's who. So just send a got if you want people to come on, and we will try our best to have them on soon. So thank you guys again for coming on. thanks to the audience for enjoying the show and commenting as much as they did.
Effin, you did a great job being a host, man.
Yeah, man, way to go.
Yeah.
Shit.
This is good.
Thank you, guys.
SpongeBob did good.
Yes, always. Well, that's
it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah,
thanks for having us, guys.
Peace out,
Countess is high apparently in the chat. Black and Green gets it done.
Guys.